back, Holistic Soul Sisters. It's me, Mandy Rose, your holistic health coach, spiritual mentor, and astrologer. So in today's video, we are going to talk all about life coach Venus and who she is and what lesson she's trying to teach us when she goes retrograde. We're going to talk about the zodiac sign through which she is retrograding, which is Capricorn. And what does Capricorn energy bring to us? What are we supposed to be paying attention to during this retrograde? I'm going to talk about some fun facts about this retrograde and also some things that you need to be aware of during the retrograde period. And lastly, I always end my retrograde videos with do's and don'ts so that you can better harness the energy and make sure that you maximize your potential during this retrograde season. So let's dive right into the basics. Now, Venus will be retrograding from December 19th all the way until January 29th of 2022. And she will be retrograding from 26 degrees of Capricorn all the way back to 11 degrees of Capricorn. Now, by the time you're watching this video, Venus has done what we call her pre-shadow dance. And that is when she goes from the degree points of 11 degrees Capricorn all the way to 26 degrees, the part of the sky at which she will then turn around and backtrack over during her retrograde. So she has already been migrating through Capricorn for the last month, potentizing this energy, bringing these kind of themes that we're about to talk to into your life. So as I share with you guys some of the things that she will be highlighting and bringing up to us during this retrograde are the same things that have already probably popped up in your life or things that you've already started contemplating. This energy is already potent and floating out around there. So this video is going to help you better understand how you can take that energy and really learn her lesson during her retrograde. So before we dive into all things Venus, let's first talk about retrogrades. I want to give you a really brief overview if you're still a little unclear of what a retrograde is. So a retrograde is essentially an optical illusion. The planets don't actually go backwards in the sky, but from our viewpoint here on Earth, it appears as if the planet is going backwards. So for instance, think of it this way. Let's say you were walking down the street from your house to your neighbor's house. That walk from your house to your neighbor's house is what we call the pre-shadow phase of a retrograde. It means that's the part of the sky where the planet has taken a walk to. Now, at that point of your neighbor's house, that would be the degree point in the sky where the planet would stop and pause and have to go back. So let's say you got to your neighbor's house and you forgot your cell phone. And you'd have to go all the way back to your house and cross that same piece of your neighborhood that you already walked over to go get your cell phone. So that is what we call the retrograde. When the planet stops, pauses, realizes that it has some more work to do. Maybe we didn't learn the lesson, or maybe this is something that we really need to focus on. It's not something we can just run past and go on with life. We really need to reevaluate something. Retrogrades are all about reevaluating, reassessing, redoing, recommitting, realigning, something in our life. That's why it's called a retrograde. So you go back to your house, you grab your cell phone, you learned your lesson. The lesson was to make sure you check your pockets, don't go rushing out of the house, pay attention, and then you go back over to your neighbor's house. So in retrograde speak, the first walk to the neighbors is the pre-shadow phase. It's the part of your journey where you realize, uh-oh, I didn't pay attention. You realize, uh-oh, maybe I didn't do something right. You get to your neighbors, you realize you don't have your cell phone, so you take a retrograde back to your house. That journey back to your house, you're probably thinking, oh man, I shouldn't have rushed out. I knew I should have double checked, right? You're rethinking, reanalyzing your steps. You're recommitting to yourself that the next time you leave your house, you're going to make sure you have your cell phone. That's what we learn during a retrograde. So the planet will retrograde back through that part of the sky. It will stop, it will pause, hopefully have learned its lesson, and then get back on track and move on with life. That third journey, so first one is pre-shadow, then it's the retrograde, and then it's what we call the post-shadow phase. This is where you grab your cell phone and you go back to your neighbor's house. During that post-shadow phase, you are implementing everything that you learned during the retrograde. So as you walk back to your neighbors, you're thinking to yourself, all right, I got it. I learned my lesson. I'm not going to do that again. And now I'm going to go enjoy the rest of the day. So I hope that helps you better understand the retrogrades, because as we go through this video and I share with you who Venus is and what areas of our life she represents, you're going to get a better understanding of what parts of your life you're supposed to be redoing, reassessing, reanalyzing, all the re's during this period. Retrogrades are not times to move forward in life. They're times to have introspection and to go inwards and to make decisions and to think and maybe create a plan of how you want your life to be to get back on track in a better way. And then Capricorn, the zodiac sign through which Venus is retrograding, that is the energy. That is the way to which we are going to learn our lesson. So let's dive into all of that right now in this video, starting with who is life coach Venus. Venus actually rules 2 zodiac signs. Most planets only rule 1 zodiac sign, but Venus rules 2. She rules Taurus and Libra. So if you guys remember from the sun season videos that I've been posting here on this YouTube channel, if you caught the one about Taurus season, Taurus is all about lavishness and luxury and material goods and our money, right? So these are things that Venus rules over. And then if you remember from Libra season in that video, Libra is all about our relationships and having fairness and justness and harmony in our lives. So these are the parts of our lives that Venus rules over. So let's break that down real quick. So number 1, Venus rules our relationships. She wants to bring us pleasure and love and harmony and peace and all the things that matter to us when it comes to our connection with other people. The second area of our life that Venus rules that's very important to us is our finances, right? So not only just our money, but also our resources, our material possessions, our tangible goods. It rules the things in our life that we hold of value, like our watches or our cars or a ring that you got passed down from your great grandmother, right? Our valuables, which then goes into the third thing that Venus rules over in our lives, and that's our values, our value system. What do we value, right? Who do we value? What things in our lives do we value? Do we value our time or do we value our money? The fourth thing that Venus rules over is our safety and our security, our ability to be safe within ourselves, our ability to fulfill our own needs. Venus rules over our self-care and our ability to nurture ourselves and to love ourselves and to take care of ourselves. And the fifth thing that Venus rules over is our pleasure. And pleasure comes in the form of sex and love, but also entertainment and the arts and music. Venus is a feminine sign, so she wants us to be artistic, the ability to have artistic expression. So you can see here from this list, relationships, our finances, our value system, our safety and security, and our pleasure. Venus is definitely the planet that matters the most to us. Now, as a life coach, Venus, like I said, is a feminine, nurturing energy. So she is going to guide us and help us. She's a benefic planet, beneficial, opportunistic, giving us opportunity to find these things in our lives little by little. And that's where her retrogrades come in. During her retrogrades, she's helping us to stop and take a pause from the chaos of life and to reevaluate the things that actually matter the most to us. What order of priority are you putting them in your life? Are you taking care of yourself and meeting your own needs, right? And your own security, creating your own security in your home? Are you taking care of your finances, right? Are you protecting them? Are you valuing your relationships? Or are you taking them for granted? These are big themes that are going to come up over the next 6 weeks of Venus's retrograde. Now, to get a better understanding of the energy of this retrograde, we have to look at the zodiac sign through which she is retrograding, and that is Capricorn. Now, at the same time this video is going live, you will also see the video for Capricorn season. The sun moves into Capricorn on December 22nd. Just a few days after Venus begins her retrograde in this part of the sky. And in that video, you're going to learn so much more about Capricorn, but for now, I'm going to give you the basics. Capricorn is an earth energy, so it's all about being grounded on the earth, our physical, tangible resources, the way in which we achieve our goals. Capricorn is all about long-term commitment, getting to the top of the mountain. The symbol is the goat. Not only is Capricorn the greatest of all time, but it also uses the goat energy of wanting to get to the top of the mountain and doing whatever it takes. If there is a rock in the way, it'll go around the rock. If it gets halfway up the mountain and realizes it needs to backtrack a little and go back around the other side of the mountain, it will also do that. But the goal is to get to the top of the mountain. So Capricorn is all about our success, our career, our reputation in the world, about wanting to be seen and recognized in our physical reality. So with Capricorn energy, we need to understand that there's this really big emphasis on discipline, on structure, on commitment, on prioritizing, on realizing what we want and what we need to do to get what we want, right? That's two different things. One, we first have to know, what is it that we want? Do we want a relationship or do we want a career? Do we want to take time for ourselves and heal, or do we want to help others heal? Do we want a new car? Do we want to travel and spend our money on experiences? What do we want? And then taking that second step of Capricorn energy and thinking, what do I need to do to get to what I want, right? And it's not going to happen overnight. Capricorn energy is long-term goals, sticking with it, running the marathon, not the sprint. This is a really big focus of Venus as she goes through the zodiac sign of Capricorn. So let me recap that for you guys. Let's break down in a really simple to understand way, what is a Venus retrograde in Capricorn going to bring into our lives? What are we going to have to recommit, redo, reassess, re-understand in our lives? Well, Venus in Capricorn is all about wanting us to prioritize, put our value into the things that lead us to our long-term goals. So if she knows that we want to have this long-term goal of having a beautiful home, then we need to value the things in our lives that are going to get us to that long-term goal. So valuing going to work and having a career that brings us pleasure and brings us joy. Because if we have pleasure and joy in our career, we're going to stick it out. We're going to stay there long enough to acquire the resources, acquire the finances ruled by Venus to get to that long-term goal in Capricorn of a house, right? Material goods, earthly pleasures. Now, also because Capricorn is very disciplined and very practical, when Venus is in Capricorn, she's able to say, all right, we want this thing, so this is what we need to do to get to that thing. I know that you need this, so I'm going to help you get there by doing X, Y, and Z. It's very logical, it's very practical, it's very hands-on, it's very step-by-step. So this is beautiful energy when she's hanging out in the zodiac sign. Venus rules our values. And Capricorn is all about following the rules, the structure, the organization, the discipline. So when Venus is in Capricorn, she is having us evaluate our values around the rules. Evaluate the structure of the way that things are. Do we like the rules? Do we want to play by the rules? Do we like the structure of the scenario, of the situation, whether it's your relationship, whether it's your career, whether it's how you have pleasure in life? Now, since Venus rules our love, which ends up being our love language, when she is in Capricorn, she tends to show her love in very tangible, earthly, practical ways. So this would be an example of knowing that your best friend needs help cleaning her house, so you go over and help her clean her house. Or maybe someone is struggling with their finances, so you pop over to their house and bring them some groceries, right? Physical, tangible ways that you can show your love when Venus is in Capricorn. Now, when she goes retrograde, she is going to take this energy when she is in Capricorn and reevaluate these parts of our life. So let's talk about what might be coming up for you during this Venus retrograde and what lessons she's trying to teach us as she dances over this part of the sky backwards. Now, anytime Venus goes retrograde, we tend to have things from the past come back. And that can be exes, old friendships, people you haven't talked to in a really long time. So this is something to pay attention to if this happens to you during a Venus retrograde. Usually it's not to come back into your life to rekindle and restart something. It's to help us find closure, to reevaluate what did we not understand when the situation ended, right? Maybe you misunderstood someone, or maybe there was something you didn't say. So you have to recommit to closing that chapter in your life. So if people come back around, it's okay. Understand that there's some lesson for you to learn. Retrogrades are major lesson learning experiences for us. So you might get someone from the past coming back into your life. Now on the flip side, if you do meet someone new during a Venus retrograde, you're going to want to be really careful because Venus can help us see the best in people. And when she's retrograde, sometimes we don't have the ability to see the full picture. We tend to want to see the best in someone. We want to believe in the best, right? So for instance, if you meet someone new and you really, really like them, and you start dating them during a Venus retrograde, and Venus comes out of retrograde and gets back on track, you might wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I actually don't really like this person, right? I don't really value them as much as I thought I did, Venus ruling our value system. The same thing applies when it comes to contracts. Venus is all about agreements. And so if there's a contract that gets presented to you during this retrograde period, you want to be very careful because, again, you're not going to see the full picture. In retrograde, we're supposed to be going inwards, not starting new things. So you might think the contract looks okay, but when the retrograde is over, you might be like, oh no, I didn't see that, or I didn't read that, or I had a misjudgment about this situation. So be very careful of not only new people that you meet and making an assessment of them, but also assessments of opportunities, contracts, new experiences, new projects, anything new should be just kind of left to simmer for you to kind of evaluate within yourself if you're actually going to evaluate long term. Now, because retrogrades tend to take us a little bit into the past, whether it's the recent past or way back in the past, you might start to evaluate what in your life from the past are you missing? What are you wanting to bring back into your life that used to bring you pleasure that you haven't done in a really long time? Venus is all about our pleasure. And when I say pleasure, I don't just mean joy and happiness. I mean that physical experience of pleasure. Pleasure is felt through our senses. What we smell, what we taste, what we touch, what we hear, what we experience, the energy, our sixth sense, right? Our energy of our environment, the energy we feel when we're around other people, relationships, Venus. So this is a good reevaluation point in your life during this retrograde to ask yourself, what brings me pleasure? What is something I used to do in my life that brought me pleasure that I have stopped doing? Or what can I add into my life that is going to bring that pleasure level of my experience high again? So for instance, if you love the smell of lavender, maybe dropping some essential oils of lavender into your shower when you take a shower in the morning. Or if you love the look of a fireplace, right? Putting a fireplace on your TV screen or buying a fireplace. Or maybe you love the sound of rain and you'd use some sound melodies on YouTube to fall asleep to the rain sounds. So think in your life, this is a really good journal prompt for you guys. What in my life brings me pleasure and where can I add in more pleasure? And as you answer that question, I want you to think in every category: my smell, my taste, my touch, my sight, and my sound. What in those 5 categories can you add into your life that brings you pleasure? In addition, since Venus rules our value system and our pleasure, and Capricorn is all about our career and our work and getting to our goals, where have you gotten off track with your values around this part of your life? How is your work-life balance, right? We want to have pleasure, but we also want to get to our long-term goals. So have you been out of whack? Are you doing too much work and not enjoying life? Or are you maybe just indulging a little too much in Netflix or getting off track with, extracurricular activities when really you should be putting them towards your long-term goal? Whatever that might be, that could be your physical health, that could be your career, that could be wanting to move somewhere. It could be something as simple as wanting to clean out your closet and you just don't do it because you're so distracted with the latest Netflix show. So reevaluate what priority you are putting certain things in your life. And what do you want your goal to be? And where do you need to find balance in that? And the last thing that is definitely going to get brought up during this Venus retrograde, and it really has to do with the overall astrology of 2022. And if you go back to that full moon in Taurus that we had, that first eclipse, if you go back to that full moon in Taurus video, even though that full moon has passed, there is so much information in that video where I talk about this upcoming eclipse season. We just had the north and south nodes of the moon leave Gemini and Sagittarius and move into Taurus and Scorpio. North node, future destiny, where we're going is going to be in Taurus. And who is the ruler of Taurus? That's right, life coach Venus. So with this north node, our destiny, our purpose, what we're supposed to be learning, the skills that we are supposed to be gaining in our life to move towards our purpose is around Taurus themes. And if you see from that video, and I will continue to talk about this all through 2022 because this eclipse cycle is lasting for the next 18 months. So Venus is going to play a big part in helping us get to these Taurus themes in our life. And the major theme here is around self-care, of prioritizing ourselves, meeting our own needs, creating our own stability, our own safety, our own security. And by doing that, we place a priority on our needs. And that also brings us pleasure. So this is a major retrograde. So Venus is giving us an opportunity at this retrograde before we jump into 2022 and this entire eclipse cycle to get our stuff together, to reevaluate how much self-care do you actually have in your life? Do you put a priority on this? Do you value your self-love, your self-care, your ability to nurture yourself? How much time do you take in your life? So really pay attention to this during this retrograde season. Find ways, and I know it's difficult. We have a busy life, we have families, we have relationships, we have, work, all the things. But there has to be a piece in your day. And this retrograde is asking us to structure it in. Capricorn, all about structure. It's all about routines. It's all about commitment. How can you recommit to your self-care? How can you create new routines that allow for space in your schedule to have time for self-love? How can you prioritize these things so that you are giving to yourself first and then pouring from a full cup? That retrograde is really asking us to look at this area of our life because we are going into a new year, a new eclipse cycle, new major astrological events coming up, and we need to be strong enough to get through them. We need to have our cups full to the top so when challenges come, we can handle them. When we want to get to our goals, Capricorn, those big, big, big dreams that we have for our life, that we are now realizing after 2020 that we want to take a hold of and to go for. But in order to go for them, we have to prioritize ourselves and to give ourselves the love and the grace that those big dreams deserve. Since Capricorn is all about the rules, we might have to change the rules a little bit. So if you don't like the rules at your job, like the rules are to come in at 8 a.m. and stay till 8 p.m. If you don't like those rules, it's time to change the rules in your life and find a way to make the rules work for you. So that's either going to be looking for a new job. It's going to be having a difficult conversation with your boss about, hey, this just doesn't work for me. I want to stay here, but I need it to look like this. Or it's going to be quitting altogether and making your own rules and creating your own opportunities. So this is a big retrograde that's going to ask us to really do some assessing on these major areas of our life. So let me give you guys some fun facts about this retrograde in specific and then talk about some time frames during this retrograde from December 19th all the way till January 29th that you should pay attention to that might really highlight and bring up some of these themes. So the first fun fact about this retrograde is that Venus is the planet that retrogrades the least. I find this interesting because Venus rules the things in our lives that matter most. However, we don't reassess or reevaluate them enough. We just charge forward until Venus does her retrograde about every 19 months, and then she only retrogrades for 42 days. That's not a very big time frame in the scheme of things for us to evaluate the things that matter most to us. So it's very important for us to really dive in and learn the lessons during this season. And the second fun fact about this Venus retrograde is that Venus is actually going to be spending a total of 4 months in the zodiac sign of Capricorn. Now that probably doesn't mean much to you, but let me give you some context. Venus is a planet that is close to us on Earth, and therefore she moves zodiac signs approximately once every month. So she will stay in a zodiac sign for a month, then move on to the next and the next and the next. And she goes almost through the entire astrological wheel in about a year. But then if she gets stuck in a zodiac sign like Capricorn for 4 months, that is a really big deal. That means she is making a home here, clearing out space, really teaching us a lot of lessons around this Capricorn area of our life. So you're gonna wanna go ahead, like I said before in this video, dive into your birth chart and figure out what house does Capricorn rule, because this is where Venus is really bringing a lot of love, a lot of opportunity to reevaluate what is important to us, where she wants us to nurture ourselves more, and where we should place more priority in our lives so that we can experience more harmony, more peace, more joy, more opportunity, more abundance, and lastly, more pleasure. So let me give you some dates that you're going to want to pay attention to. On the date that Venus starts her retrograde, which is December 19th, she will be in a conjunction with Pluto. Conjunctions mean that one planet touches the other planet from our perspective here on Earth. So they are conjunct. I say they are hugging. And Venus is going to be hugging Pluto as she goes into her retrograde. It's kind of that kickoff moment where she hugs him and says, all right, I need your help. You're going to help me teach the lessons that I need to teach. But Pluto, oof, man, that is quite the planet to want to participate in this Venus retrograde. Pluto is the planet of deep, deep transformation. It rules over control and our ego and manipulation and very subconscious, deep things in our lives. Pluto is just one of those planets that forces us to go a little deeper than what we are comfortable with. So this Venus retrograde is not just going to be all about, ooh, who do I love and what do I want and self-care and pleasure and yay. It's also Pluto energy of saying we really need to dive in and transform this. We really need to make the changes. We need to let go of control. We need to let go of our ego. We need to let go of some of those things that just don't serve us anymore, so that when Venus gets us back on track and we move into the eclipses of 2022, we can experience more joy, more flow, more opportunity. We can get back on track with actually enjoying. Now, on January 8th, which is the midpoint of the Venus retrograde, there is going to be a Venus cazimi in the sky. Again, it's a very fancy astrology term, but essentially it just marks the halfway point of this retrograde. And by this point, we're going to have started to reassess what we prioritize. We're going to start implementing some self-care. We're going to start realizing that we need to put priority on this because it's actually very, very important to us. So this is the moment in the retrograde where we actually start making the changes. We start realizing the changes that must be made. Who in our life do we need to release? Who in our life do we need to spend more time with? What in our life brings us joy? How can I bring that more into my life, right? All these things. So this halfway point, January 8th, is the turning point. And then as we move through January of 2022, Venus is retrograde almost the entire month. So we kick off this year with a Venus retrograde, asking us to go inwards and not move forward, not meet new people, not have new opportunities, just to create closure and space and priorities. And then by the time she comes out of her retrograde on January 29th, we have learned the lessons, we've done the work, and this is the point in the new year. Actually, by the end of January, not January 1st, by the end of January, where we actually start to enjoy life a little bit more. So if you go into this new year and it's feeling tough and you're not getting all these things that you wanted, it's okay. Let Venus finish teaching us the lessons. Let her do her work, and then we will make the changes. And so fully move forward into February, clear as Venus goes into her post-shadow phase. As she's walking back to the neighbors with her cell phone and we learned all the lessons, we can realize how to move forward in our lives. So hopefully that all makes sense to you. So I'm just gonna wrap up this video with some do's and don'ts for this retrograde so you can harness this energy and maximize your potential in the lessons you're supposed to learn. So let's start with the do's. The first thing you are going to want to do during this retrograde is recommit to self-care. So important, I cannot emphasize it enough. Recommit to taking a time every single day for you. Whether that's hiding out in your bathroom for 10 minutes, or it's to take a bubble bath every night, or to go for a walk, whatever you have to do to recommit to yourself and prioritize yourself. The second thing you're going to want to do during this retrograde is redefine your boundaries. Capricorn rules our boundaries. We need to reassess our boundaries with other people, with our work, with everything in our life. And at what point will you not cross the line? So getting really clear with your boundaries, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, how much are you willing to give, and then finding a way to stay strong and stay firm in those boundaries. The third thing you're going to want to do during this Venus retrograde, and this is a good one, is to redefine what brings you pleasure. I mentioned that a little bit already. Find out what you like to smell, what you like to taste, what you like to touch, and find ways to bring that into your life. If you love the feeling of silk, get silk pajamas. But if you love fur, get a big furry blanket. If you love the smell of coffee, find a coffee candle. If you love the smell of peppermint, put peppermint in your shower. Find ways, redefine and refine ways in your life where you can add in more pleasure. And then for the don'ts, these are big ones, so make sure you keep these in mind for the next 6 weeks. The number one don't is don't enter a new relationship. Like I said, you are going to see someone in the best light, and when the retrograde's over, you are going to think in a different way because we are reevaluating what matters to us. We are reevaluating our priorities. We are reevaluating the rules and our boundaries. So don't enter a new relationship. Keep it on the back burner, get interested, get curious, but don't commit just yet. You're also not going to want to end a relationship, because when you end a relationship during a Venus retrograde, you tend to circle back around when the retrograde is over. Because maybe you made a harsh decision, or maybe you made a decision that wasn't fully understood, and then you have to go back. So I see a lot of Venus retrograde relationships that break up, get back together when the retrograde is over. The second thing you don't want to do during a Venus retrograde is make a luxury purchase or a high-priced ticket item purchase. Because again, Venus rules our finances, it rules what we love. We may not actually love that thing when Venus gets back on track. So be wary of making any large purchases or going over the top, changing your wardrobe, buying a whole bunch of new things. Just wait. And the third thing you don't want to do during a Venus retrograde is change your appearance. With her going backwards, we might want to reassess the way that we look. And so oftentimes people will cut their hair, change their hair color, buy a new wardrobe, get plastic surgery. You know, any types of these aesthetics and looks are not something you want to change during a Venus retrograde. Just wait until she gets back on track and you can think and see clearly again. So hopefully this video helped you guys better understand who is Venus, how is she a life coach to us. I wanted to give you guys a reminder, the 2022 Retrograde Astrology Journal is finally in. I have it in physical copy. I'm so excited for you. If you already purchased one, it's already in the mail. You should be getting your hands on it before New Year. Go ahead, tag me in it when you get it. Join our private Facebook community, Holistic Soul Sisters on Facebook, and share with me what you guys like about it. Share with me your journal prompts if you do the new or full moon rituals. I love to see your take on them. Make them your own. If you haven't purchased a copy yet, go ahead in the link in the description box below. You can grab your copy. I will ship them out and you can enjoy this for the new year. You will see that for every retrograde, I have listed the do's and don'ts. I have multiple journal prompts. There is different, I go through who that life coach is, what happens when they go retrograde. We talk about the zodiac sign through which it is retrograding. I give you guys the lesson, what to expect. It's a perfect time, so a bucket list item during that retrograde season. So this journal is packed with so much information for you guys. So I really hope that you enjoy it. And also, if you are not following us over on the Holistic Soul Sister Instagram page, make sure you hop on over. Every week I do a What's in the Stars Saturday. So we dive into the astrology of the week. It's really quick, it's simple, and it just gives you an idea of why you might be feeling what you're feeling during the week. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit like, subscribe. Please share this channel with anyone you think is curious or interested in astrology. And I will be bringing you so much more holistic health content in the new year. So make sure you stick around for all of that. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you in the next video.